if you look at yourself and you think that could be fixed, have it done earlier than you think that you should have things done. This is the Loud Quiet Living the Empty Nest. Welcome back. Episode 65. We're back, just us in the studio. It feels like it's been forever. Just us in our studio because we did do our from New Orleans. But anyways, welcome back. We are at episode 65, which is more than probably most people
Oh, by
make,
far.
So.
That's like in the top 3%.
Yeah. So we're happy that y'all have stuck with us. We thought that we'd do just a little recap of Thanksgiving.
We know that it's been a while since Thanksgiving. It's still the holiday period, and some of the
Well,
things
but
that
you
we
know,
observed,
But you
it's
know
going to
what I
carry
was
through.
thinking about, though? Thanksgiving was just last weekend.
I know.
That was not, it's not that far away, which this morning I was thinking, oh, it had, but no, it's been, yeah, a week
The
and a half.
holidays are
so.
very compressed, and in a year
Yes.
like this, when the calendar falls the way it does, it gets even more compressed.
Yeah. So yeah, we were in Austin and
Yeah, we went down to Austin, and this was the normal rotation, getting like back to the normal where we do Thanksgiving, and then that means Christmas is here, and then we flip it back and forth. And this one was actually really fun. It just felt good. Now, there's a caveat that I want to talk about later, but I want to start with a positive. It just was great. We got to go down there. The family was there. Other extended family members were there. Our kids were able to come in. Tegan was able to come in the day before. We drove down with Tanner. That felt weird, going to his apartment to pick him up and drive down there.
But and that was nice that she got to fly in, and then we texted Tanner and said, "Hey, we're on the way to the airport." Well, in his mind, he always thinks Love Field, which is
very close
15
to
minutes, 10 minutes away, 15 minutes away from his apartment. So he said, "Oh, great, pick her up. Let's go to dinner." He didn't realize we were at DFW, so it took us like 45 minutes, which we did. There's a great place that we love down on Greenville if you're Dallas area, Costa's. We went there. It was just fun.
It felt like, and not that it doesn't feel like family in the empty nest, but it's each one of those moments is sort of a reminder of, our little unit of 4 is still our unit of 4. And yes, our kids, God willing, or their choices are going to end up getting married, establishing their own independent units. But until that point, we still have our unit of 4.
And this was, she's in her second year of college. Last year, she didn't come home because we went out there because they were both out there. So, I think it was a nice time for her to be home. And then, thank goodness, because I did see a lot of people that said, my kid came home and now they don't want to go back. She was ready. She wanted to go back, but it was nice to know that she only had, go back for a couple weeks and then get to come back home. So.
It is a very strange thing how the calendar falls. I remember doing that when I would fly back from Duke, and it was so stressful to get back, the scheduling, all that, and things were a lot different back then. And then you're only there for a couple weeks and you're thinking about finals. And both kids were certainly in their finals mode.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And, it stinks because at my college, we got the week off.
Yeah.
Tegan, her calendar is Thursday and Friday. That's it. So Thanksgiving Day and Friday. Luckily, her professors had canceled classes, and we are flexible enough with our flights and knowing stuff that we could change everything around. But there were kids that, their parents didn't book them a flight home because they thought they had school, and then the professors canceled. Well, by that point, the flights are so expensive. Can't get your kid, across the country.
So I want everybody to do this. If you're listening or reviewing, I want you to start clipping this and start sharing this on your social media. Because while this is not the most important social issue that we have in our world today, by far, let's start a movement that requires that universities give their students the entire week off so that families, the entire week off for Thanksgiving, so that families can actually travel and be together on Thanksgiving in a less chaotic way.
And this is something that, I know bothers you and bothers that people now tend to just skip over Thanksgiving. It's like
That's
as soon
always
as
bugged me,
as soon as Halloween is done, oh, it's Christmas. But, Thanksgiving is your favorite holiday for the food. I mean,
well, it's the food, and my memories growing up of Thanksgiving are and we must clearly had other years, but my memories were that we always, air quotes for those that aren't watching, went to Quitman, Texas, East Texas. Everybody gathered there. And so, yes, the food is what I remember. It really is. And I think only as an adult did I come to know why I felt this way. It was the family gathering aspect of it, almost without anything else. Like Thanksgiving is, yes, there's the let's give thanks. Thanksgiving is also there's nothing else. It's family, it's food, it's getting
Football.
together. But it's all
Yeah.
there's not the gift giving. There is not a faith component to it. There is not anything other than family, food, and getting together. And as I think back, that's what I really like about it. And I hate that it does get overlooked. Ooh, well, you just got me on a soapbox that I was not expecting to get on today.
Well, and so yes, so we were in
Where'd that come
Austin,
from?
and here's our picture. And that's what I wanted to get to. I put a couple of the family pictures. This is a picture of the kids with Nana, who is 100 years old and the matriarch of y'all's family.
Y'all hear that again? 100
Yes.
years old.
And then and so that brings me to, this was our gathering. I mean, the amount of people, my brother even said, "Man, y'all had a big group."
Yeah,
Your family, everyone stayed in the same area.
correct. In that Austin, Central
Yes.
Texas, Austin-ish area.
And the only ones that really moved away, they come back for the holidays most of the time.
Most of them. Well, you've got us and you've got Dennis and Peggy coming out of the Caymans.
Well, yes, I was speaking of Dennis and Peggy, but my family, we moved from where everyone was, but then all the cousins kind of scattered too. So we did younger days go back, but
Yeah.
as a teenager, we didn't really
Wasn't part of
go,
y'all's scene.
but so it is nice to have all of, this big group
Yeah.
together. And, your cousin Dusky hosted it.
I was
It
going to say,
great, and
if you weren't planning, you started to, so sorry for talking over you. Big shout out to Dusky and Shane Glazer for hosting this at their house. And yes, other family members contributed. They brought things and that sort of stuff. The host, though, the pressure that goes with that, and successfully pulling off having this many people in one house, feeding them, everybody happy.
Yeah.
That I don't recall any fights. And well, we could
no,
get
I
into
don't
that.
think so. But it was hilarious though, because when we walked in, we were kind of amongst the first to arrive. And when we walked in, if you know the movie Christmas Story, where the dogs come in from the neighbors and are running around and knock the turkey off of there were four, at that point there were four dogs. Later there were five. And I mean, two doodles who are bigger, a Doberman mix that's bigger, and then a little dog. I mean, they were like crazy running around, and Tegan grabbed hold of me and she was like, but then as soon as everyone got in, they were fine. They just they were the sweetest.
These were some of the sweetest dogs. I guess I didn't walk in because
You
I
didn't.
didn't
You stayed
experience
out.
anything that
No.
you're describing. There was never a dog that jumped on me. There was never.
You stayed out in the garage. And I will say they weren't jumpers. They were just excited, So it was like, and it was cold and dreary, so they didn't want to be outside either. So
They were. So I guess I missed the initial hype. Man, they were some of the prettiest
Yeah.
and chillest dogs that you really could just
Yeah.
actually kind of hang out with.
Yeah.
It was nice.
So yeah, it was fun. As we now have adult children, and your cousin Dusky has kids that are almost exactly our age. It's interesting how the conversations have changed into, oh, are you dating? Oh, this one's about to get engaged. This one, is starting her job. It was an interesting shift because we haven't been there in a few years,
Right.
that now we all have these adults.
And as parents of that generation, we always are aware of and have observed conversation. Yeah, sometimes you just see and so you think about the conversations that they had amongst themselves growing up, whether it's Pokemon cards or whatever well, actually that still happens. Bad example. But whatever, but now that they are young adults, they're having those conversations, and you can kind of observe them and watch them talk about majors and careers and how was your job interview, that sort of stuff, watching that change. And the point you're making, now we are and can be a part of that conversation because they are the young adults, they are adults. And watching that is fun.
And Tanner and Skylar, it was funny listening to them because she's a tech, and Tanner had been to
Texas Tech, for those of us
Texas
outside of
Tech,
the
yeah.
state.
Tanner had been to Texas Tech for the ASU game, and so she was asking him, "Oh, where all y'all go?" And he was listing off all
the different clubs and bars and
yeah.
restaurants and that sort of thing.
So
That was really delightful. You mentioned Nana, and that was one thing that I had mentioned to you, that this is the first Thanksgiving that I don't have either of my parents. With my mom having passed away after years of Alzheimer's earlier in the year. And while my mom was physically present at holiday celebrations in the past, mentally she had already started to decline, and so that acceptance slope had already been in place for me. Yet there was something different about realizing they're not there. That layer, if you think of a generational layer, was not there. And it started to hit me. And I even mentioned, hey, I've felt sadness for some of the first time, not first time, but, it's kind of had poked back up. It's tempered, though, because there is still that layer above me, and there's still that matriarch of Nana there. Now, yes, she's 100. She's not doing anything. She's showing up. She's smiling. She's telling stories. We're having conversation. She's still there as an icon. And there's still my dad's brothers, 2 of them, that are there in their family. So that layer's there. It did start to show those signs of, okay, this is about to be where we're the ones, not you, me, we, our generation are the ones that are driving these holidays, that are driving whether we get together, driving whether 30 people gather in one house or not, or if it starts to splinter. And that frightens is the wrong word, but I'm aware of that the responsibility is very quickly shifting to our generation.
well, and it's going to be very interesting. We had this conversation that, certain people want to be where their kids are. If your kids are in another city, you want to be close
Right.
to there. So I think things are going to start to where it may be your sister is the only one really left in living in Austin once the others move on. I mean,
Yeah, we're talking about
older.
years.
They're
Yeah,
older,
yeah.
but yeah, I think, that could be a very real scenario that
And is there still the appetite? But that actually, I didn't even think about it. That reinforces the point that I was making of it is now incumbent on us, our generation, that if we want to have 30 folks gather or whatever the number is, I imagine some of us are going to start seeing grandkids show up. If we want that to happen, if we want our kids to have the same memories that I had growing up, we're going to have to make some choices to put that in place because it doesn't happen automatically.
and that will be interesting because you and I had our kids. Our kids don't have a lot of cousins, and the cousins that they do have are 5 to 8 years younger than them. So it will be interesting to see how things kind of.
And we're dancing around the word interesting because we don't know. That requires a crystal ball. I think it does inspire, though, in me right now, just in this moment. This is very improv here. This just that realization of, if I want the kids to have that kind of memory, if I want to continue to create those memories for myself, for us, well, then we have to do something about it.
Yeah.
And if that means that folks aren't in Austin and we say, all right, we're going to go meet in, I don't know, what's in between here in Lubbock, right? Get some sort of land and we just have a family gathering. That's choices that can be made because of how much I enjoy that. And it really delighted me to know, because selfishly, it's me. It's my heritage. It's me growing up. It delights me to know that the kids enjoyed it and you enjoyed it and others as well.
It was laid back. It was, yeah, just a nice. And then, we stayed at an Airbnb, so it was nice to just go back to our own space. Everybody had
Wait,
their
I'm sorry.
space.
We talked about enjoying all of this gathering.
Not that. It was just
I know.
everyone had their own space, to go back to, and So yeah, it was nice. And so we got up, Friday morning and headed back because Tanner needed to get back to study and Tegan, we wanted to be back for an event. But I get a text on Friday morning from one of my friends who sent me, they have a big family, or it's part family, part, these people are like their family. They've
Yeah.
been gathering since before she was even born. So one of their college age kids, not hers, but someone else's, made a bingo card.
Oh, yes. I
It
love this.
was hilarious. I was reading it in the car to the kids. We were cracking up. And so then we were trying to figure out what ours would have been. I mean, it was genius. So if you're having a big Christmas gathering, I would suggest
Well,
make a bingo card.
now we're doing this. So if this doesn't work out, we'll either cut this out or folks don't know it. But if we get the permission to post the bingo card, we'll show the image here in the show and show y'all what it is. Don't know if we're going to get permission. We'll see. But it was things of the classic things, and I'm not even speaking specifically. But this bingo cards could have things like so and so, showed up late, or so and so forgot this, or
Yes.
so and so got in a fight, or
People are going to be there that we don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just things like that. I don't. It would take a couple of layers to get permission to post
got
that,
it.
so I don't think we will be posting it. But you get the idea.
Well, in ours, we didn't know that we have now established a family tradition that we didn't expect
Oh, yes.
to establish. That picture that we just put up here on the screen, if folks are paying attention and happen to know my extended family, they'll see that someone is missing. And that is my sister's husband, Stephen, is missing because we took the picture, we got all set up, everything. Oh, yeah, okay, that looks good. And we walk outside, and there's Stephen walking up the street.
Strolling up.
Because he was just doing a walk after eating Thanksgiving, just enjoying a little peace and tranquility.
And what I love is that his own wife didn't even realize he wasn't in the picture. And we were trying to rush the picture. That's another tip. And you should always do your picture before everyone eats because everyone is there at that point,
Right.
and you're not. But we were trying to rush the picture because Nana needed to leave, and so he just comes walking up, and we all look. We're like, wait a second.
And Rachel was the one taking the picture. So even now, why it's a tradition is at my Nana's 100th birthday, the same thing happened with Jerry, where we realized after the photos, like, oh crap, Jerry wasn't here yet, and so that's going to be our bingo card that so and so
wasn't in the
picture.
So that was it was fun. We had a nice time. The kids were on their laptop studying on the way back in the car, and so we were getting back on Friday so that we could go to the moms took the
Yeah, I was
girls.
gonna say, let's define
the
we
dads
here.
were not interested. The moms took the girls. Their high school was still in the playoffs, and they were actually home this year for one. So they wanted to go see their coaches and the girls that are on their drill team that are still seniors. And it was again, that was just a nice. We drove.
Too far.
Thank you, Aaron, for driving. Yes, and. It was just a nice evening. The girls got to reconnect with some of their team members, and it was really funny because they always borrow letter jackets because the freshmen don't have theirs yet. And on the cold games, and this one was outside, they get to wear their Letterman jackets. So some girls had come and gotten Tegan and Kennedy's. And it was so funny because in the stands, the two that were wearing their jackets were next to each other. So it was that was a fun little
flashback.
treat, yes.
Tegan and Kennedy together.
And it is fun seeing them in that adult element
Right.
and listening to them talk to their coach, more adult. And they
Almost as
text with their
peers, rather,
coach,
yeah.
yes. And they stay in contact with their coach. They go out to lunch when they're in town. So good relationship. And then we just had a full weekend of.
Yeah, let's go ahead and throw a birthday in there.
Mm-hmm. So my dad's birthday always falls around Thanksgiving when it's the last week of the month. And so I just said, everyone come over to our house. I'll make soup. It was cold. And again, it was just a nice.
Such a smart choice because our
Yes.
families typically What do you celebrate? You go out to a nice restaurant or just a restaurant, right? Whatever the range is. And we were trying to figure out a place and that kind of stuff. And you said, let me just host it here. That was brilliant. The Texas and Texas A&M game was going to be on. It was just nice to hang out with family. And you and we are so in a wonderful situation that I love your family. You enjoy my family. I'm glad that we can be in that because I was happy to have a birthday celebration with your dad in our house.
Yes.
This was not something you're like, hey, we got to do this.
And, you played chess with Carter. And
Carter nearly got me.
Yeah. He came in the kitchen and said, well, I would have if there would have been a timer. He takes so long.
Oh, I definitely take way too long. Oh, my gosh. Carter is 100% right there. But it came down to I had two pieces. He had his king left. Like it was, he nearly got me.
Oh, so, and then Casey and Tegan spent a ton of time in the kitchen talking about some of the classes that she's in that he had also taken, and some she's taking next semester that he had just recently taken because he went back and finished his degree. So that was really, they left, she said, man, I really had a really good time talking to Uncle Casey. And so
there's a theme that you and I are speaking of. There's probably a way that if we took time that we could crystallize it into some sort of snapshot of a phrase or a coffee mug kind of thing. The empty nest has these moments where you watch your kids become the young adults that you want them to become. We've talked about that. And then you watch them have those adult conversations with your adults. And the adults could either be family, like your brother, or other adults. Seeing that conversation and that almost movement from, I don't want to get into like authority elements, but a kid looks up to a generation, and then to see it come together where they're conversing as equals is really neat.
Yeah, so that was fun. And, Tanner did get to come in for a little bit, but he left pretty much after dinner because the law school finals are a little bit different than regular school finals.
We won't belabor it, but I will make this one point. When you have your entire semester grade is one test, the pressure goes up.
Yeah, and this was after Thanksgiving, but you had gone back to Austin this week for a day trip, and so I was like, oh well, their final was the next day, so I said, let me come down and I'll take your group out to dinner. And I mean, I felt stressed out after that dinner.
The way you described it to me, I think we could have powered a small city based off of the nervous energy in that room.
And I get it. I mean, like you said, when it's one grade and that's your grade, and I told Tanner, I said, in that hour and a half, you and your friends talked more about school than I ever heard out of you and your friends in 4 years of college. So, yeah. But, again, they got one down. They have two left. And, he did get to have some fun this weekend because ASU was in the Big 12 championship. And so one of his roommates came in and they got to have a really nice time at the game and an awesome suite. And so that was fun. So I'm glad he had a little brain break. And I know today he's going to be right back at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Tegan is approaching her finals, which I'm sure a lot of your kids are in the same
I guess
boat.
by the time this releases, hers will be over at recording it is. And so, I know a lot of folks either have just seen their kids go through this or it's the last remaining days. This is now, if you'll allow me, we talked a lot about Thanksgiving, but this is a pretty darn big week for us, specifically for you.
Yes. So, I am going in tomorrow to have a procedure. Sir, I keep calling it a procedure. Rick's like, it's surgery.
It's surgery. If you get intubated and are with an anesthesiologist, it's surgery.
I have always been very open about the plastic surgeries that I have had. I mean, I've only had one other one, but, and I knew when we were dating, I don't know if we were engaged yet, but your mom had went in and had a full facelift, and I was like, okay, great. If his mom is doing that, then I know eventually he'll be on board with me doing.
This was never. Wait a second. This is new information that you.
Oh no, I
No,
totally,
no,
you know.
I know you knew that, but I didn't realize that that was part of your calculating
Oh,
factor of.
okay.
Oh, okay. So I'll be able to use this as
No, but I remember
influence.
her sending us, like, or we saw the pictures she took. Back then you had to take real photographs of what you
Yeah.
were doing. So yeah. So I am going in tomorrow, and I'll put my here. I wish I had a pointer so you could see, because I would, you know, my dad. I have my dad's profile, so I have no chin and no neck. so so yes. So I am going in tomorrow to have. I'm getting a chin for Christmas and a new neck for Christmas, and my little jowls will be gone. So,
What
and
did you tell them? So we were in there, and what did you tell them?
oh, I told him it was your fault.
Yeah.
Because if you watch our shorts that we do,
We put them on YouTube,
Yes.
Instagram, and Facebook.
it's always my profile, and I'm like, oh, good gosh, why didn't someone tell me my neck looked like that? so,
We were in there
So,
in
yes.
the first
So-
appointment, and we were telling, oh yeah, we have a podcast. Oh, that's exciting. And you looked at
Yeah.
her and goes, that's the reason I'm getting this surgery.
But you know what he said? He said he's had several. He said he had a CEO that came in and said, I saw myself on stage in the video they sent me, and I was like, oh my gosh. I said, yeah. so I will recommend the doctor I'm using so far, just based off his bedside manner and the appointments we've had with him. We'll wait until next week to see how
Yeah, let's see how the
everything
results
comes out,
are.
and then I will surely recommend him. But if you're in the Dallas area, but yeah, no, I'm excited about it, and it's something that has bothered me, and I had some non-invasive procedure that helped it along a little bit, but now it's just, it's time. And I actually heard someone on a podcast this week that said, if you look at yourself and okay, again, it's me. Okay. I am vain. I will admit it. That's me. If you look at yourself and you think that could be fixed, do it then, because if you wait too long, then they were just saying, just have it done earlier than you think that you should have things done.
It is I'm glad you brought up the vain and the vanity component of this, because that's an interesting kind of category to go down, because I don't think of you as a hyper vain person, right? You are more than willing to go grocery shopping in comfy clothes and that sort of stuff. Like, you are not the type that has to be totally done up and presentable anytime you're in public. You have done this podcast, which is video and sitting out there for the world to see in wet or, in athletic gear and that sort of thing.
And next week's will probably be like that.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, because I can't wear makeup for
So
a while.
it's an interesting thing for me to observe the woman I love call herself vain, and yet I know that there's plenty of instances that you're not.
You know what it is? It's almost, I don't care what other people see. Like, I don't, yes, I like to be put together when we're going out places, but you know me, I live in my sweats at home. And like
Yes.
you said, I have no issues going out to certain places, not being done up. It's an internal thing for like, it's not, I'm doing this so that those people out there will think, oh gosh, she looks so good. It bugs me.
Yeah.
And that was the same thing when I had my tummy tuck. It bugged me. And there was nothing I could do. That's the other thing. You can't lose another 5 pounds. You can't, it's not going to fix.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
when you say that, I'm imagining like those 1940s ads sold to like some sort of
Yeah.
apparatus.
And
that
they
you would-
have those now too. But, and believe what you want if it works or not. But again, and that's, when I had my personal trainer to try to get rid of my stuff, and at one point she was just like, it's skin, it's not going anywhere. So, and some people don't care. I just care
Yeah.
about, but it's just me. I know you don't love me any differently for how I've
No.
looked,
I look
I
at
mean,
you
I
and think you're
gained freaking
beautiful.
80 pounds with one of them. I don't remember which, but, so
Which kid do you have a better relationship with? Then it must be the other one, right?
But it is just a me thing that, and when it's something visible and you see it all the time, are the other things you can kind of hide, but
Well, and in this case, like you said, that we're putting out 1 to 3 videos a week where it's just right there in your
yeah.
face.
And like again, I am very open about it. I don't feel bad or guilty or anything about having it done. So if you have any questions, you can hit me up about
Yeah,
it, and I will obviously show, you know, we'll probably have pictures in the
yeah,
next episode of how
yeah.
everything went. So,
And that's like, I'm glad you point out that. Well, I'm glad you feel that way. That I'm not putting pressure because I, even with my mom getting facelift, I had a very sort of t- challenged view of plastic surgery because it does seem like, well, wait, beauty's on the inside, right? All those things. It shouldn't matter. And I think the one, you reminded me that my mom had a facelift when we were talking about you having your first plastic surgery. And while I did have that challenge view, something you said here is something you've said all along, and that is it's not being done for you to improve what others' perception is of you. It's for your own self improvement view. And there's certainly a balance to be struck there, right? There are people who can still take that view and clearly over index on it because they have an innate sense of deep insecurity and think that surgery is going to solve that insecurity and all that sort of thing. If I remember correctly, I think one of the surgeons had even said something along those lines to you that he only wants to work with people who are already confident and secure, and this is just helping them unlock that self view that they wanted to have. But this is not a solve for a deep rooted insecurity. This
yeah.
is a enhancement on something that simply can't be fixed any other way.
Well, and that's one thing I really did appreciate about my surgeon when we went in the first time. He said, I don't look at you and say, okay, yeah, you need this, this, this. And he's like, you tell me what bothers you. And that's
Yeah.
he's like, then I'm not going to go point out, well, you could also do this and so I liked that. And, the part about being open about it, when you see someone out that and they've obviously had something done, I just don't get why people don't want to, why they feel like they need to hide it. Because, they did something.
Because it feels like someone's cheating.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? We have such a hyper focus on beauty in our culture. And I won't even say U.S. culture because it, in many cases,
yes.
is kind of global, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah, my sister-in-law, who is Thai, was like, "Oh, I want to have it done."
yeah,
So,
right. It's this
very
global pressure, and so because we reward, and you make a deep argument whether it's right or wrong, but as a society we reward beauty. It feels like cheating, so that's why people are like, "Oh no, she had something done. She's not authentically, and he did this and all that." You know what?
it's become so mainstream now that just who cares? But it is. It's pretty privileged. That's what.
Yeah,
That's what it's.
yeah. And you say
Maybe
it's,
I'll start to get some of that.
I already think you're beautiful. You're getting plenty of privilege. the you say it's mainstream. It is common, and it is not exclusively reserved for a tiny population. But there are people listening right now that are either pounding their dash or eye rolling us, and I'm fine with that because people can have different opinions on it. That no, it's not mainstream. It is that, and so I kind of. I
Well,
like your approach. Hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing.
my question would be: are you getting Botox? Because that's the easiest entry into.
So, are you saying Botox is
I
the
think-
gateway drug to
I
plastic
think
surgery?
people categorize things differently.
Totally.
I think they see Botox as just, it's just a treat, it's just part of my facial regimen.
I wouldn't have used that example, and I know I should be doing yes and rather than a shut it. I would take your example and your point and go actually one layer further, and it is: do you wear makeup? Do you wear nice clothes? Do you wear clothes? I mean, simply the fact of wearing clothes. I realize I'm being a little bit facetious here, and so although instead of me going at those folks, I would simply say this: everyone has a line to draw on what they feel is an acceptable choice when it comes to enhancing the way they look and the way they feel.
Yeah.
And some choose surgery is a line for them. Some say makeup is the line for them.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah. So I'm excited. The only thing I am nervous about is that I cannot work out for 4 weeks. And I just retired from my job right before Thanksgiving, which was fitness instructor at the gym, and that's going to be the toughest thing for me.
Yeah.
And it's not even it's not a physical thing, it's a mental thing.
You're going to have
So,
a hard time.
Yeah. So
This is one that I'm aware of, and I don't know what I can do to help, but I'm going to have to be aware of.
well, I have lots of shows lined up to watch.
I'm going to be in another room.
So yes, we'll be sharing, of course, along the way. So
Yeah.
so there you go.
It's been an eventful week. It's been an eventful couple of weeks. And it's going to be interesting this week. This
Yeah.
is I don't want to say that I'm nervous. You care for the person that you love, and you want them to be taken care of, and you want your results to be what they want. And I have a high degree of confidence in the physician and what's going to happen. It's just like anything; you just feel it a little bit. So,
Yeah.
so this is going to be that week.
There you go. And we're on the countdown to Christmas. We'll have some episodes about that. So
I'm sure we will.
yes, we will. All right. Well, thanks for joining us again on the Loud Quiet, Living the Empty Nest.